have you ever stopped to think that the future of space exploration isn't just about giant rockets reaching the stars, but about how they can return and be reused over and over again? It sounds like something out of a science fiction movie, right? But what if I told you it's already happening? The Super Heavy isn't just another rocket. It's a game changer. What used to be a massive expense with disposable launches is now becoming an almost routine operation at a much lower cost. And that changes everything. We are on the verge of an era where going to space might be as accessible as taking a flight in a few decades. So subscribe to this channel and fasten your seatbelts. Space exploration has always been a race between great powers, but technology has changed the rules of the game. Now, anyone with a vision can get involved. The Super Heavy represents not only a technological advance, but the possibility of making space accessible to more people, companies, and even smaller countries. And what does this mean for us here on Earth? Think of cheaper satellites, space travel within reach of civilians, and even bolder missions like the colonization of Mars. What many people don't realize is that this revolutionary movement in space goes far beyond rockets. The innovations we're seeing can directly impact our everyday lives. Imagine technologies being developed for rockets being applied to cars, airplanes, or even your own home. These changes aren't light years away. They're much closer than you think. And believe me, what's coming next is even more amazing. What really puts the Super Heavy rocket in a revolutionary category is its ability to go beyond a common orbital launch. We're talking about a vehicle designed not just to reach space, but to return to Earth and land upright, ready to be reused. Just imagine. This advancement in reusable space travel is a milestone, something that just a few years ago seemed straight out of a sci-fi movie. If we think about the impact of this, cost reduction and efficiency in space transport become tangible. After all, we're no longer in an era where launching a rocket means losing everything sent into space. Now, it returns to be used again and again. The interesting thing is to realize how this capability changes the entire dynamics of space exploration. Think of an airplane trip. If after each flight the aircraft was discarded, the cost of traveling would be absurdly high. That's exactly what Super Heavy is preventing in the space sector. Moreover, this concept of upright landing brings a new level of precision, something that can be applied to future missions, such as landings on celestial bodies, where the margin for error is minimal. The level of control and technology behind this is impressive and leaves us wondering what else is to come. And here's a practical point. This technology doesn't just impact rocket launches. Many of the systems and mechanisms developed for the Super Heavy can be adapted to other areas, such as aviation and robotics. For example, the landing control system is something that could start influencing the drone industry, allowing them to be even more precise in their operations, from deliveries to filming. So, by analyzing Super Heavy technology, we're looking at the future of several industries at once. But like any great innovation, this is just the beginning. The Super Heavy is paving the way for a new space era. And it's not just about exploration. It's about making space accessible, viable, and, above all, sustainable. However, all of this only started coming to life after the first successful launch, which is where our journey connects to the story of its triumphant first mission. The first successful launch of the Super Heavy was an event that marked the history of space exploration. Imagine the tension, the expectation, and finally the euphoria of seeing that massive rocket break through the atmosphere, take a spacecraft into Earth's orbit, and, as if that weren't enough, return and land upright. All of this in a matter of minutes. The success of this mission was not only a technological triumph, but also a colossal step for the future of humanity in space. It's not every day we see something come off the drawing board or simulations and happen so spectacularly. And the most fascinating thing? Just 10 minutes after its return, the Super Heavy was already ready for another mission. Think about that. We're talking about a rocket that, in a matter of minutes, is ready for new flights, like a Formula One car part going through quick maintenance and getting back on the track. This agility completely changes the game. The implications of this achievement are immense. More frequent missions, shorter waiting times, and of course, a drastic reduction in the cost of launching objects into space. Time is crucial in space exploration, and the speed of this process puts the Super Heavy as a true game changer. Reflecting on that first launch, it's worth thinking about how rapid advancements can have direct impacts on other sectors. This speed and efficiency could inspire, for example, innovations in land logistics. Imagine if we had transport vehicles that, like the Super Heavy, could be refueled and ready to operate in minutes. The transportation of goods, for example, would be revolutionized. Or even medical services, with ambulances ready for multiple emergencies in a row, without the need for long preparation times. But what really made that first launch unforgettable was the fact that it opened a clear path for what comes next. From that moment on, a new era of space travel unfolded before us. And this was only possible thanks to one of the most fundamental laws of physics, governing the movement of all rockets. Newton's third law. Understanding rocket propulsion is like unlocking an ancient secret of physics, and Newton's third law is at the heart of this magic. Imagine pushing a wall with all your strength. You don't move the wall, but you feel that resistance. In the case of rockets, this interaction happens spectacularly in space. The combustion of gases creates a force that pushes the rocket upwards, while the gases are expelled downwards with the same intensity. It's like a balloon that, when released, flies through the air thanks to the air escaping from it. This apparent simplicity hides precision engineering that enables interplanetary travel. Now, think about the last time you pushed something heavy. Did you feel the effort needed to move it? In rockets, that effort is multiplied thousands of times. The practical application of Newton's third law allows enormous structures to defy gravity and reach space. For example, when a rocket takes off, each propulsion jet works in perfect harmony to ensure the spacecraft rises with stability and efficiency. It's this synchronization that makes it possible to launch satellites, explore the moon, or even plan future missions to Mars. But how does this translate into everyday life? Let's imagine you're trying to push a full shopping cart. The fuller it is, the harder it is to move. For rockets, the solution isn't to make the push easier, but to increase the reaction force to overcome this resistance. Similarly, in personal projects, when we face obstacles, we can apply this principle. Increase our efforts to overcome the barriers. Whether at work, in studies, or a hobby, understanding that every action generates a reaction can inspire us to act with more determination and strategy. And it's fascinating how this universal law manifests in every successful launch. Every time a rocket reaches orbit, it is living proof that fundamental principles of physics can be masterfully applied to achieve extraordinary feats. This connection between theory and practice reminds us that with knowledge and proper application, we can turn seemingly impossible dreams into tangible realities. And speaking of transformation, let's explore how the history of aerospace evolution intertwines with these fundamental laws in the next topic. The evolution of the aerospace industry is truly a journey through time, going back to times when the concept of rocket was very different from what we know today. It all started with early Chinese experiments in the 9th century when gunpowder was used to create rudimentary rockets. It was a basic application, but it laid the foundation for what would become modern propulsion. Over the centuries, humanity refined these ideas. From gunpowder to liquid fuel, the technological leap was enormous. And this transition, as we will see, did not happen overnight but through constant experimentation, successes, and, of course, many failures. For centuries, rockets were used more as weapons than as exploration vehicles. In fact, the wars of the 20th century accelerated aerospace innovations. With the arms race during the World Wars, engineers sought more efficient propulsion methods, leading directly to the development of more powerful and precise rockets. And when World War II ended, the space age was about to begin, with nations worldwide competing to conquer the sky and then space. The famous space race between the United States and the Soviet Union in the 1960s was a milestone in this sense. What was once just a literary dream became reality when humans reached the moon. To understand the impact of this on modern life, just look around us. Satellites orbiting the Earth that enable global communication, weather forecasts, and GPS navigation are direct fruits of this aerospace evolution. In practice, every time you use a location service on your smartphone or make a video call, you're benefiting from advances that began long ago with the first gunpowder rockets. Space exploration and innovation go hand in hand, bringing benefits that we often don't even notice. This evolution, however, is far from over. What we see today with SpaceX and other private companies is a continuation of this relentless pursuit of better space technology. Now, the focus is not just on launching rockets, but making them reusable and more financially accessible. And here we enter a new phase: cost reduction and increased innovation, making the dream of colonizing other planets, like Mars, increasingly realistic. When we think about space exploration, what often comes to mind are astronomical figures, right? However, what SpaceX has been doing with its reusable rocket technologies is completely changing that equation. Traditionally, launching something into space was an incredibly expensive process, as all the equipment used was discarded after the mission. Imagine buying a car, using it only once, and then throwing it away. Well, that's how it used to work. However, with SpaceX rockets like the Super Heavy, we're seeing a drastic change in this scenario. Not only do they go and return, but they're prepared for another flight quickly, making space exploration much more accessible. With this innovation, the cost of launching satellites, conducting scientific research, and even sending supplies to the International Space Station has significantly dropped. What's even more interesting is that this cost reduction doesn't just mean more launches. It also means the real possibility of expanding our reach into the cosmos. Now, missions that were once considered financially unfeasible, like building a lunar base or the long-dreamed manned mission to Mars, are becoming increasingly tangible. Technological innovation has brought with it a new era of possibilities, where space can indeed become the next frontier for humanity. Think about it. Just a few decades ago, the idea of a colony on Mars was pure fantasy. Today, it is not only viable but is already in the plans of major companies and governments. This cost reduction opens doors not only for giants like NASA but also for private companies and smaller countries that can now dream of actively participating in space exploration. And who knows, in the not-too-distant future, even ordinary citizens will be able to travel into space, just as we now take a flight to another continent. The interesting thing is that this cost reduction also impacts other areas. Technologies developed for reusable rockets are already being applied in various sectors, such as transportation and energy. The ability to optimize and reuse complex components can lead to innovations in areas like electric cars, for example, or even how we generate and distribute energy. Space exploration, therefore, is not just about going further but also about making our lives here on Earth more efficient and sustainable. And, from what it seems, this cycle of innovation and progress is just beginning. Now that you know all about these incredible innovations and achievements, what will you do with this information? Have you ever thought about how these technologies, which seem so distant today, can directly impact your future? Maybe it's time to ask yourself, how can I prepare for this new world that is unfolding before my eyes? Space exploration is no longer just a thing of science fiction or exclusive to major countries. Today, anyone with the right knowledge can start being part of this revolution. And you, what are you waiting for? If you truly want to change the way you think about the future and prepare for the changes ahead, it's time to act. Space is no longer unreachable, and the opportunities to be part of this movement are becoming more accessible every day. What steps will you take from now on to be at the forefront of this new era? Leave your ideas or questions in the comments. I want to hear from you. Oh, and don't forget, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and keep learning about the fascinating world of space exploration and technological innovations that will shape our future. Don't miss the upcoming videos, because there's always something new and amazing happening in space, and right here on Earth too.